Kind of excited about spring ball as we always are. We've done a lot of things this offseason thus far. It starts with Joe Conley. He's gotten players bigger and stronger. If you just look at the metrics of how we kind of judge it, we have the ability now, all of a sudden, we've got a lot of guys that can run on both sides of the ball. We think that's critical. We've had a lot of young players come in that are freshmen that'll add to that freshman class. We anticipate more coming in a little later. But I think now the key is, for us, when you think about it, we're actually building a new offense and a new defense. So it's almost like my first year again. We're starting over. I got new coaches. I got a new offense. I got a new defense. The good thing about the defense, obviously, I'm very familiar with it. And so that helps me. On the offensive side of it, it's good for me because now I've got to gain knowledge on that side of it. I think Zach has done a nice job of really bringing energy, and Marvin as well, because when you think about it, players, when they're challenged to learn something new, it becomes exciting to them. It becomes something different. And when you change offenses and defenses, everyone has to learn something new. That levels the playing field of competition all of a sudden, which is what we talk about here. So it'll be kind of fun when we go through this spring.
Coach, what are you going to be looking for in particular during the spring practices from players?
Well, how guys grasp the offense and the defense. And you know, obviously all eyes are going to be on Jaden. We know that. We get that part. But beside Jaden, when you think about it, the wide receiver group, they're not all here yet. That'll be an interesting group to follow. And lo and behold, when summer rolls around, we anticipate having, I'm going to say the number, 5 tight ends. So that's kind of new. Defensively now, we'll dabble a little bit more in a 4-man front. We've kind of, the Tillman guy is still here, but he's more of a safety, a strong safety, I would say, in this scheme of things. We will do some 3-3-5 at times, but you know, 4-man front will probably be a little bit interesting. The punting situation, our punter's at the combine, so we've got a guy coming in though, so we're good there. It'll be interesting to see that. It'll also be interesting to see this. We had a dynamic punt returner and a kickoff returner in IU. He's at the combine. So now all of a sudden we got to find somebody there. We feel like we have some candidates that can do that. So this spring will be one of those deals of new players in the program, defining their roles, and then from there, when the rest of the guys come in the summer, continue to build on that.
So many assistant coaches, do you feel they're meshing together as much as you want?
And Marvin's done a great job, and Zach has done a great job of meeting and structuring things. We have some young coaches, which is kind of fun because, you know, they're eager to learn. They didn't kick me out of the secondary room yet, so I can still coach some secondary once in a while. But it's kind of interesting, you know, the flow of things and how things have kind of come together here. So it's going to be kind of fun to watch all these guys coach.
Coach, what was the process in getting Marvin Lewis to be one of your co-DCs, and he was on the advisory role? Did his wife approve?
This was kind of one of those deals where when we know Coach White, you had to make a tough decision. A lot of it had to do with family. You know, Mom living back on the East Coast of New York is closer to his family. His wife actually has family members in Florida. So that was it was hard, and it was tough. But when it happened, I mean, within like 10 minutes, Marvin walks up to me and says, "I got you." And I looked at him and I was like, "You got what?" And he says, "I got it." And I said, "You have what, Marvin?" And he says, "I got you." And so I looked at him, I said, "I think I'm hearing what you're saying." I said, "But let me call your wife first to make sure she's okay." She cleared it, we're good. So it was kind of fun because, you know, Marvin's been around. I love him. I mean, you know, we've known each other over 30 years. You know the history of that. And to have him and AP all of a sudden be in the same room, co-coordinators, and AP playing for Marvin in this system, that helps. And I know the system because the system came, you know, one of the systems came out of Tampa. And it's kind of, there's some spinoffs to it all. So we get it. It's easy for us because we've been in it our whole life. Now we've got to teach the players. And that'll be the fun part.
Coach, you've always coached strong running backs, strong running game. Can you say anything about the competition you think you're going to have at the running back position?
Well, very competitive, and I don't want to mention one guy's name, but I think you guys know who they are. It's going to be interesting. They're the 2 young guys we brought in, along with the kids we have coming back. They didn't play a lot, but they're going to get an opportunity to compete. Very competitive. And what's good about this class, again, there's about, I'm going to say 12 to 13 freshmen here already. that becomes kind of our calling card now. I mean, the more you see us recruit, the more it's going to be very evident to people that the more we get this freshman class in here in the spring, it pays dividends for you. I think it pays dividends for them as players. It pays for them dividends as a student athlete, where they can come on campus, get familiar with the weight program, go to school without any pressure of playing a game, and compete for a position. That's critical for me. I mean, and I think more freshmen are doing that out of high school, which is smart.
Another calling card for you, coach, is bringing in NFL experience coaches. You bring another one in, Robert Rodriguez, experience with the Vikings. Just tell us about the value that brings to these kids to have a chance to pick a guy's brain that's been there.
Well, it's important because we know 90% of these guys want to go on to that level, and if they're talented enough, they're in a program that would allow them to understand how it operates, right? From practicing the meeting, the whole thing, right? And for Robert, we went through an interview process of actually interviewing 6 defensive line coaches within 3 days. It was, and it's 4-hour interviews. I mean, we were here for the whole, 3-4 days in a row, just back-to-back guys, 2 every day. And at the end, all of them were viable candidates. All of them were really good. We needed a fit. He was probably the fit. He's kind of unique. Went to UTEP, as you guys know, played linebacker,
Right.
actually. So he kind of knows the middle of the defense as well as the front. And he was with the Vikings. That front is familiar with what we know. I mean, head coach there worked for Marvin Zim. I've known Zim for a long time. That front is something we ran in Tampa and in New York, so I get it. And so it kind of all fit. It was a good fit, and he's done a good job already. He's made his presence felt in the defensive room.
Coach, you go back to the spring practices, though. What do you expect to see from Jaden in the development from year 1 to year 2? He's already understood the pressure, but what else?
Well, I think now he has to become more of a leader, and we talk about that. As you guys know, I've got a really good relationship with Jaden. He's in my office every day. He just comes in there, kind of hangs out. I turn around, he's sitting over there. What you got? I'm studying. Good, studying. Okay. Whatever. Yeah, he's always in there because he understands now. Last year, he wasn't asked to do anything. Just play quarterback. You're a freshman quarterback. Just don't turn the ball over. He did a pretty good job of not doing that. This year, he knows that all of a sudden, when you look at our team, there's only 9 seniors. So who else is going to lead? You don't have a choice if you're a quarterback. And now, what's good for him, he's in an offense that's different, but he's a quick study. And I think he likes it, he gets it, and now he has to do that along with being a quarterback. He's got to lead and be the quarterback, which he's ready to do.
On the contrary, though, you look at some of your linebackers in that secondary where you had freshmen just a few years ago. Now they're going to be kind of more in the upperclassmen range. What are you expecting from that group?
Well, a lot of pressure all of a sudden going to be put on them, and the fact that they played together now for a couple of years, and that's got to be our strength. When you think about our defense, we played freshmen early 2 years ago. Now they're sophomores, a lot of these guys. It's going to be juniors, some of them too. So the only thing different, the system's kind of changed. The back end, be a little bit more pressure on them, right? Because of what we're going to ask them to do. But I think they played a lot of football now, and they know that. So I think the secondary playing together, that helps you. How we communicate will help them as well. Now it's just learn the system so we can play up to our talent level.
When you talked about Jaden in his new role, last year though his maturity was already there. How does a kid come in as a freshman with that kind of cool and calm when he really hasn't gone up against a Michigan State or those kinds?
Well, I think most of these young kids in today's world, especially a quarterback, at a young age, they throw the ball so much that it just becomes a part of their DNA. Now, the ones that separate are the ones that eventually take it from the high school level to the college level, and the ones that can play as freshmen. You see this all over the country now. It's not like one of those deals where you say, I'm starting a freshman quarterback. People go, oh. They go, oh, okay. And so then you got to see how it goes. Well, did he meet expectations? Yeah, and probably above expectations, a lot of people would say, to be put in that situation. So I just think for him, he's a guy that's always seeking knowledge. This offense is interesting to him because he's going to have the ability now at the line of scrimmage, and the way Zach runs it, you can check out of the play. You get a certain look, you have the ability to go, hey, we're doing this. So that's kind of, every quarterback wants to be able to do that rather than look to the sideline and figure out what the signals are, because now he's playing quarterback. And to me, that helps you because the quarterback, whether they like it or not, has to be the leader of the team. He just does. He wasn't asked to do that last year. He was asked to play quarterback. He knows, and I told him, I said, now you got to step up now. It's time. And he gets it.
Coach, how much do you trust him to like check out of the? I mean, how does that develop that relationship where you're like, okay, you have the free reign to do what you want there at the line?
I just keep telling him, as long as you know, quarterbacks are this way. Coach, I'm checking out. You know what they're throwing. They're gonna throw a go route. They don't all have to be go routes, right? Just don't check everyone to a go route, right? Just don't do that. Because you have Frank over there, and Frank's always open. I'm open again. Yeah, just calm down. And so this will be kind of fun watching it. But I think the more we talk, Jaden and myself, he gets it. He understands, And the thing that that impressed me the most about him last year was that he didn't turn the ball over a lot. He turned it over twice. I'm not saying some guys didn't drop some. One was a Hail Mary, but he understands that the ball is special, and you can't, the only way the quarterback gives the ball up is kick it. I always tell quarterbacks, that's my rule, kick it. If you kick it to the opponent, it's good. Good things happen. Just kick it to him. Don't give it to him any other way. And so he gets that part of it, and maybe to a fault. Maybe to a fault his first year, because there was probably some things where he could have looked at and went, no, I don't turn it over. Well, this year it's more like, hey, if you see it, go ahead. Go ahead. I got you. Go ahead. Don't worry about it. So I think we're there with him. Now, I say that, all of a sudden he starts throwing to the other guy, and I'm pulling him in the rooms. Hey, man. But so he's kind of living in that world, but it's going to be interesting to watch him play.
What drew your eye? Sorry.
The pressure for him, too, this year could be a little different, too, because I think he'll get more national exposure.
Yeah.
So I think the pressure will be, how do you think he's ready to handle that from a national stage as well?
Well, I've always said this, there's only, in life, and I've looked at it this way, and I've always told our team this, pressure occurs when you're not prepared. When I walked into class and the teacher said, it's a test, I went, she didn't tell us. Open book, good. But when you prepare, there ain't a whole lot of pressure. When you're not prepared, there's pressure. Our job is to prepare him. He will be prepared to play. And I know we get into this. Well, the spotlight's going to be on him. The spotlight's always on quarterback. I mean, wait a minute, stop. It's quarterback. It was on him last year when he was a freshman. He was a freshman quarterback playing. Everybody was waiting for the shoe to fall. Like, when is it going to fall? So now this year as well, are the expectations throw 50 touchdowns? No, the expectations are win. Find a way to win a game. That's all we ever talk about around here. We don't talk about, this. We just, how do we win this week? That's the mindset of the quarterback. That's his mindset. That's all he cares about. I mean, almost to a fault. That's all he cares about. Coach, I just want to win. What do we got to do this week to win? Here's what we got to do. Okay, Coach, I'm good.
A little birdie told me that you spoke with the Giants.
Oh, well, the hum babies. Yeah, I grew up, and I'm aging myself. 55 years ago, when I was 10 years old, I went to a Giant game. That was the first professional game I ever went to as a kid. Our neighbor had some tickets, and we got in. Now, you say this today, you get in trouble. We got in back of the pickup truck, and we drove from Monterey, California, to Seaside, California, up to Candlestick, the old Candlestick where it was cold. We sat over there in the right field, and out. You're talking Willie Mays, Juan Marichal, Willie McCovey, Jim Ray Hart, Tito Fuentes, Bobby Bonds, I mean, I knew these guys. I knew the Giants. I grew up a baseball guy. So my big deal was I was going to see Willie Mays 55 years ago. And I go and I watch the game, and the game's over, and I run to the fence over there after the game because that's where they park the cars, and I'm looking through the fence, and I'm going, man, I'm looking at Willie Mays, man. I couldn't believe it. And I told these guys today, I said, it's kind of interesting. I said, because at 10 years old, man, I was a Giant fan. I grew up a Giant fan. I was on the West Coast. And I said, if you'd have told me that I was going to get to speak to the Giants, I'd have said, man, this is kind of interesting, And I said, the thing that I will say, and I told them, be quite honest. I said, you know, as athletes, sometimes we get caught up on all this stuff. We rent the jerseys, and the coach rents the hat. Your legacy is what you make out of that jersey. One thing that never stays, that always will stay the same, is you play for the Giants. Don't lose sight of that. At the end of the day, don't lose sight of that. But it was kind of ironic when I stood there and I'm going, at 10 years old, if you'd have told me at my age now I'd be actually talking to the Giants baseball team, it was quite, I told him I was humbled, I was honored. Now to say that, I'm going to talk to the Devil Rays too, so. And the Diamondbacks too. I'm talking to all of them. You know? So, you know, it's kind of interesting. And I met the coaches, and I didn't realize, I was sitting in there with Coach, and for the Diamondbacks as well, these guys play 200 games. That's a lot of baseball games. I mean, that's a lot of baseball games, and it's tough. I mean, they got a long season, but. You know, it's just kind of funny because I grew up a baseball guy. I really did. All kids grew up when I was my age. You were a baseball player. You know, baseball was kind of the American game. It was what everybody did, and it got cold in the outfield for me. And eventually, when you're in pony league and all that stuff, and cold league, and the pitchers always dominate. Guys don't hit real good. You sit out there for 3 innings and you get bored, man. You get bored and you get cold, right? And I said, man, this is it for me. I have to go run track, you know. But that and the curveball, right? Can't hit the curveball, so that kind of makes you stop playing baseball. But other than that, I was quite honored to be there, to be quite honest. I really was. And I can't wait to go see, the Diamondbacks. Cause,
that was like a dream come true, 55 years.
How about that? Yeah. And I talked to Coach, with the Diamondbacks, and I'm excited about going to see those guys. You guys know when I came in town, I'm a sports guy. I root for all the teams in Arizona, and I just do. I'm a homer, man. You get to a place and you're a homer. So that's what it is.
Basketball game tonight.
Who is?
Are you going to be at the basketball game?
Yeah, you know where I got to go? I got to go to Louisville to talk to USA Football, their coaches clinic. So I'm going to try to make the night. We'll see. I got to get up early tomorrow morning. I got to catch an airplane.
Really?
Too many places. I'll be glad when we start practicing next week. Then I got an excuse I can't go anywhere.
Coach, on that.
Does it feel like the offseason went fast? Because now
Yeah, it does. Because you know what? When you're dealing with, well, it went fast, but it was kind of a little bit of, I got to hire another guy. I mean, it seemed like every other day I was walking in my office. I said, is anybody here that was here before? And it's been kind of fun, because you see guys get other opportunities at all different levels in our organization, which is we talk about. But then the process of trying to make sure you build camaraderie in your staff. So that's very important. Staffs are like they're family, and you got to make sure you get the right guys and the right mix of guys. And it's been fun doing that, meeting new coaches, and the energy they bring in, because it's new and they're excited about being here. So that's been fun.
What drew you to Zach, and what's that process like of feeling it out between him and Jaden coming up?
Multi-dimensional offense, the system. I've watched those guys from afar. Boise State, they've done when Coach Peterson was there, and they played in the bowl game in Vegas when he was the head coach, I actually spoke to the team. So that was a long time ago too, right? It's amazing you stay around long enough, you do a little bit of everything. And I kind of watched him because I respected Coach, the way he coached football, and I watched him there, and I was always kind of peeking, like that system they ran up there, and it's kind of carried over. Coach has done a good job, at taking Coach Peterson's spot, and knew about Zach. When you lose a coordinator, you go, okay, who's some guys out there? And he was one of the first guys on the list. I had about 4 guys, and we interviewed 4 of them, and they were all really good candidates. But at the end, he kind of fit a little bit of my mindset, how I look at offenses and how difficult it is when you deal with something like that. So that's how it kind of worked out.
Coach, in your 3rd season, though, you're having fans still out at practices. What does that say about just building up that Sun Devil culture?
Well, I think it's fun when they come out, just to see the guys work. There's a lot of work and it needs to be done. Now I always tell people, they say, well, you had a pretty good recruiting class. I said, yeah, but now we got to figure out if they can play or not, right? That's where the coaching comes in, and I'm excited about watching our coaches. We've kind of talked about how we structure practice, because all these guys are new. So now you got to go through the whole routine of this is how we practice. And when you tell them that, hey, there's a 2-hour rule, You know, and they all looked at me and said, what, the 2-hour rule? And they looked, I said, for me and Marvin, there's 2-hour rule. I said, if you want to stay after that, the Carter's taking me and Marvin in, and you guys can have it, because we're done. And so it's kind of, they look at you to go, Coach, you got to be kidding. I said, no. You got to be organized. We'll be organized. We want to be efficient. We want to do things to help our players grow. And so that's kind of our culture here.
Coach, you mentioned Brandon Ayuk's name earlier. I'm just curious what it was like to coach him and his personality, and what do you think of his prospects?
Well, they're excited about him in the league. I get a lot of calls from people, and rightly so. I mean, I think after week 4, he kind of established himself as an explosive guy with the ball in his hand. You know, he was always coming to me my first year talking about, Coach, you know I can play corner. I said, stop. And he probably could, because he's got good skill. But I think he developed himself. By the Michigan State game, I think he hit a plateau where all of a sudden he just started ascending. You know, because he was a JC guy. In the first year, he's kind of sitting behind the keel a little bit, because the keel's getting all the attention. He made some plays, but he became the go-to guy a little bit between him and Frank as far as throwing the ball. Jaden was very comfortable with him. You could see that developing on the offseason with him and Jaden getting together every day. You know, in the summer, I'd watch them. They're out here throwing, you know, and just, that's interesting. And you could tell that he's going to have a good year, but I think the Michigan State is when it kind of took off, right? And so I'm happy for him. I'm happy for all 4 of those guys. So when you think about having 4 guys at the combine, that's a hard place to go. You know, we had 2 guys that play in the Senior Bowl. That says something about their talent and what the other people on the next level are looking at.